Hey everyone, I know I'm late with this one as I started playing Elden Ring pretty late, but as of now, I have 60 hours into the game. I figured I'd take some time to talk about the game, what I enjoyed about the game, and stuff, and a few little nitpicks that I didn't enjoy. This video will be relatively spoiler free, so I won't be talking about story or anything like that. And don't mind the gameplay in the background, it's not going to be all that exciting because I am doing this live, so yeah. Because I am on PS5. Alright, so there's not much that I can say that I don't like about this game. Mostly little nitpicks, which in no way ruin the experience. Um, I'd say first, before we started, I wanted to give a little background on my Souls game experience. I was like, I have played Bloodborne, Demon Souls, and a little bit of Sekiro, so I wouldn't exactly call myself an absolute hardcore Souls gamer. I do love the games, but yeah, I won't say that I'm an absolute hardcore gamer of them. Um, yeah, Bloodborne was being my favorite one, but this game is kind of making its run for my favorite. Uh, and yes, I never did play any of the Dark Souls games, so shame on me, I know. Alright, now let's get back to it. So one thing I would say would be the lack of a journal. I guess that was kind of the biggest thing for me, was just like a lack of a journal. Um, I don't know, for some people that's not really something they would have wanted, but for me, I think it would have been kind of helpful with some of the NPC quest lines. I know they did add in the patch. They did add like the NPC markers on the map, so it kind of helps you find them a little bit more. But oftentimes when I was doing quests, side quests and stuff, like they would give you, some of them wouldn't even tell you where to go look for an NPC, so you'd be like, all right, what the hell? You know, you you're gonna send me off on a quest and you're not even gonna tell me the general direction to go. So I found that could have been a little bit better. Um, Yeah, yeah, I feel like that could have been just a little bit better. But overall, it wasn't too bad. Like typically you could easily find the NPCs. Sometimes I had no real trouble finding them, but some of them they did give pretty vague descriptions, so it did take often I'd find myself like exploring and then finally running into the NPC just by accident, just being like, "Oh, I totally remember this person," because, I didn't have a journal and I wasn't writing anything down, to be like, oh, this person gave me a quest. I'd often have to rely on my memory, which sometimes you would forget because the game's so big. But I also would have liked a journal in these kinds of games because I do like to like read up on some things you find like lore tabs and stuff, in the games like. But I know you can also do that with the equipment in the game, like the equipment and your talismans and all that stuff. Like you could, um, yeah, I know there's, yeah. Hold on, just a sec. I know there's a way that you can like look at the weapon lore and stuff, and I always keep forgetting this every single time. Yeah, this. So like you go in and it'll give you like a little bit of a description about the weapon and stuff, and some of them have pretty interesting lore tidbits to it. So you can also read on that and get your lore that way. But typically I would have liked that you had that in a journal. That's just a little minor nitpick for me. Um, so yeah, but it's nothing that really ruins the game at all. I guess another one would be the camera. Sometimes like when you're fighting big enemies and stuff, you would have the camera. The camera would kind of get sucked in, like you're literally looking like right up your backside of your character, and oftentimes it was hard to see what the big enemy was doing. But that's kind of just a little minor inconvenience. It only really happened with big enemies. Other than that, like the camera was really good, when you're fighting enemies of your size or whatnot, and which is understandable because it's hard to get the camera perfect in third-person action games and stuff. So, but I rarely found myself losing my target, even with the big enemies. I would also say that in some places I did get FPS drops. So I did play on the PS5 as I mentioned earlier, so it happened a few times. Didn't really kill anything for me, but it did make me go whoa a few times. So it's kind of crazy. Like when you're in the big areas and you're just running around and you just all of a sudden you just see your game just dipping frames. It never really happened during fights, which is good because in a game like this, you start losing frames and it's going to mess up your whole timing and stuff. So luckily it only really happened when I was exploring. So to me, it didn't really kill anything. But I hear on PC it was pretty bad on occasion, so be mindful of that if you are looking to buy this game on PC. Um, I think some patches have been released to help the performance issues. I also did get like some texture pop in every now and then, certain places when you're running around and exploring on torrent. Um, the occasional texture pop in, but it not really a big deal again. It's like, but with a game this side, bugs are willing to happen and they can be ironed out. So now let's kind of go into the stuff that I did like. Um, One of the things that I did really like in this game is like the sheer amount of weapons. Like I'm pretty sure I haven't even found anywhere close to all the weapons around there, but I feel like I have tons. I know I have a lot of repeats in here, but I felt like just the sheer amount of weapons, your spells, incantations, the Ashes of War for your weapons, which is a new thing in this game. It kind of replaces the weapon skills. Um, Yeah, also the summons you had like there's tons of summons that I found. Let's see. Yeah. Lots of armor. Just the sheer amount of equipment that it's amazing. Like just so many weapons. So many cool weapons that I have that I've been wanting to try out. But yeah, it's just a lot of weapons. I also liked just the sheer amount of bosses that were, even if they were a lot of repeatable ones, but there was just a ton of bosses. Um, I'm hearing people saying they're getting upwards to about 200 plus bosses, and I know that's a lot of repeatable ones, but yeah, but there's definitely a lot of unique ones too, and the bosses are really cool. I like the dungeons, the caves in this game. There's just so much to explore in this game, and I feel like I haven't even come close to the end of it. Um, just a lot, just a lot of stuff. Um, what else? Sorry, just kind of reading over my notes here. Yeah, tons to explore. Like, I know Souls games have been known to have a lot of little neat secrets in them. So I really like that you have a lot of options on how you want to approach the world. So typically in older Souls games, kind of the path is usually linear, You'll go into you go into the one area, you'll explore there, fight the boss, basically explore around the dungeon that you have, but you ultimately are going to the boss. And I know for that, you have that in this game too. Like you'll go into the castles to fight the big boss. That's what equates as the dungeons, and then also the caves. That, you go through them and you fight the boss at the end. But a lot of the times that you can just skip over the bosses. Like pick your battles. You basically can choose your battles. With this being an open world game, it kind of gives you the option to go around a boss. You don't necessarily have to fight a boss. Yeah. And I know a good example of that is at the beginning of the game, when you get here to the first step and you run into a guy named the Tree Sentinel, where a lot of people, when you see him, you're like, oh, let me go fight this guy, and then he just absolutely mollywops you. And so and it's kind of like the game teaching you to be like, oh, well, this guy might be too strong for you right now. You can always come back later, or you can continue to fight him. It gives you the option. It's just very approachable that way. Um, that's also really nice. Like, yeah, you can go straight for the story bosses and be underleveled and at a disadvantage, and in some ways, or you can explore for hours, get really strong, and make the game easier for you. And you can, yeah, but you can still also get absolutely destroyed by bosses if you aren't careful. This is definitely a game where you need to be very mindful of what you're doing. In these fights, you can't just go running in there willy-nilly and just, spam weapon arts and all that stuff. And even though there are some OP things that you can do, so you can spam. So yeah, it is possible, but you know what I mean. Um, yeah, so I definitely do like the challenge for sure. A lot of people do say that these games need a difficulty slider, but I don't know if this one actually needs it. Because as I stated above, that you can make the game as easy or as difficult as you want for yourself. It's not that big of a deal. It's just that open-ended, so it makes it just that much better. So I would say overall, for someone who is trying to look for a nice way into the Soul series, they've been interested, but they've weren't sure where to begin. This is a good game for that, in my opinion. I also really did love the the lore and the world that the devs have built. And anybody who says that this game does have no story clearly weren't paying attention to the NPCs. All right, I mean no hate with that statement, but like, I'm someone who does enjoy story-driven games myself, so um, but I also do enjoy the subtle storytelling of this game. When you're talking to the NPCs and they give you a lot of very subtle hints when they talk to them, oftentimes speaking in riddles, but a lot of the times they do tell you, they do give you very good hints onto where you need to go, and then even then when you're lost, the lost graces will also point you vaguely in the general direction of the next story boss that you need to fight. So you could also use that, and it will, you see these golden lines that are pointing off, it will kind of generally tell you in which direction the next story boss is. But but as I said, I do like the subtle storytelling in Souls games. So, but if you are unsure if the game does have a story, you can watch a YouTuber by the name of Vadi Vidya. I'm pretty sure if you know anything about Souls games, you pretty much know about him. But yeah, his whole channel is just based off telling stories in the Souls games. So you can always check him out. He'll give you all the lore rundown if you're confused about the game. Um, but overall, I could go on for hours about this game, like stuff that I like in this game. But I'll kind of go and end it out like this. I know it's a relatively short video, but I feel like if I was going on, I'd be ranting for hours. And I guess I will kind of talk a little bit more about the combat. So I was generally someone who did not like the Dark Souls games, um, because I always felt like the games were pretty clunky. I know that's weird, because this game does have it a little bit of clunky, but to me, I don't know, it feels a little bit more refined, I guess. I feel like a lot of the older Souls games, you would just do R1 spam. It was kind of the thing. I don't know. It may have been more evolved than that, but that's just how I thought about it. But I always did enjoy watching the speedruns of Dark Souls games, but I've never personally played them because I could never really get into them. So like, yeah, my first Souls game was Bloodborne, where that one was just hyper aggressive and stuff, and they wanted you to be up in the enemy's face, and I don't know, I guess I like that about that. Um, I just felt like with the change in the weapons and all that stuff, but yeah, that's just my favorite game was Bloodborne, and this game, yeah, I feel like the combat is so much better. Uh, I hear it's a basically an upgraded version of Dark Souls 3, so I guess anybody who liked that game, the combat will feel very familiar. But I've also enjoyed it, the weapon arts, the spells, the incantations, and all that. So just typically, yeah, just kind of a little rundown of the combat before I ended it off. So, but overall, this game is a complete ass package. Like, if you wanted the bang for your buck, this will be it. Like, if you wanted to get all the money in the world, like, you get your $60 worth out of this game, this is absolutely the game for you. Um, I can easily see myself putting in over 300 hours in this game at least. Yeah, like the combat is great, and that was something that it kept me yeah, that kept me from the Dark Souls games. The combat is definitely much better. It feels good. The weapon skills are awesome for some of the unique weapons. Spells look really cool, and some are just flat out overpowered. I don't know if you if you've read anything about this game. Yeah, spells are overpowered. Mage builds are pretty damn strong, and there's definitely some other strong builds too, like blood katana builds. Yeah, definitely strong weapons. I feel like my build is pretty strong too. It has its place. I might make a video about that one too, but yeah, we'll see, just to kind of go over what I'm using currently in my mid to late game. Um, yeah, enemy variety is great. Bosses are dope. The audio is fantastic too. Boss music was really awesome. It got me really pumped. But you could say that about any Souls game, honestly. I played, yeah, like as I said, I've played Bloodborne, and the music in the boss fights are just, whew, they get you in it, you know. It really does set it, set you, get you in the mood to fight. The ambient music while exploring also gave a great feel. The sound design was also really good. I really liked that. It was really good in the game. So now to kind of close off for anybody who was interested in this game, I would ask you this first. Like, are you someone who does want a challenge in your games? Like, and also, like, were you someone who's just kind of like unsure whether or not what game you wanted to start with? But I would definitely say that this is a must buy. If you're just looking for a challenge in your games and you're just someone who's been interested in the Souls games at all, but you were just unsure which one you wanted to play, this is definitely a good one to pick up and start. And then after that, uh, go back and play all the other ones. I may even go play Dark Souls now. I don't know. I just how great this one is. I may even go back and play those finally. But But obviously, anybody who's a Souls fan, they've already bought this game, so you don't even need a video like this, and I don't know if it's been that informative or not. Uh, but if I were to give this game a score, I would easily give it a 10 out of 10. And yes, I do have a little bit of a bias here. And right now, this is my game of the year. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to some other games that are come out this year, but right now, this one is definitely my game of the year. That's my score, and I'm sticking to it. So like, alright, I think I'll end off the video here, and if you did enjoy this and if it helped you get a little bit of an idea about the game, um, maybe some things that um, might help you decide whether or not this game is worth it, then great. Just be sure to leave a like then, and then just by all means leave a comment on what you liked about the game, and leave a subscribe for more content on Elden Ring, and then I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.